Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Bhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om. We will also recite a prayer to Patanjali. There is a traditional prayer for Patanjali, and that prayer is in the form of one shloka. I'll just recite this shloka. You may repeat. Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sharirasya tu Vaidyakena Yopakarot Tam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi. Okay. The meaning is like this. I bow to Patanjali, the great Muni, the great sage Patanjali. What type of sage is he? He is somebody who has removed the impurities of the mind. Yogena Chittasya Malam Apakarot. That is, by giving us yoga, he has removed the impurities. Malam means impurities. Chittasya Malam. Chittasya Malam means the impurities of the mind. He removed by giving us yoga. Then Padena Vacham Malam Apakarot, which means by giving his text of grammar, not text, a commentary on the grammar, Panini's Vyakarana, Panini's Sutras, he is said to have written the Mahabhashya, a very great grand Bhashya. Mahabhashya means a grand commentary. So that grand commentary is something which is given by Patanjali. So by that, he has removed the impurities of the speech. And also, Malam Sharirasya tu Vaidyakena. The bodily impurities have been removed by his text on medicine. He seems to have written some treatise on medicine. We do not know. Only this treatise on medicine is not available. But we know this Patanjali Mahabhashya. It is very passionately read by all the grammarians. And Mahabhashya is that grand commentary. And of course, we are now reading the yoga text. So with this, every day I think I will recite these two shlokas, Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum, and also the prayer to Patanjali. And Patanjalim Pranjali Ranatosmi. Pranjali means I with folded hands, I bow. Nata means to bow. Nama means to bow. Natosmi means I bow. So that is it. Natosmi means I have bowed. That is it. Nataha is actually a past tense. So welcome to the study of Patanjali Yogasutras. And like we have studied the other texts in the Advaita Academy, if you have seen the other texts in the Advaita Academy, we have studied in a fairly traditional manner. That is, I read out the text, and also Mr. Srinivas, he is actually repeating the commentary. He's after me, and then again I am explaining. So that is how we have that is the traditional way of teaching. All the bhashyas are taught in that particular manner. So we will also do the same to study this Patanjali's Yogasutra. So now, sometimes this Patanjali's Yogasutras, it is also called Patanjala Yoga Darshanam. It is called Patanjali Yogasutras or Patanjala Yoga Darshanam. What is this Patanjala? Patanjala is belonging to Patanjali is Patanjalam. Something belonging to Patanjali is Patanjala, like Dasharatha, Dasharathi, like that. Vasudeva, Vasudeva, so like that. Patanjalam is belonging to Patanjali. Yoga Darshanam. Darshanam is the philosophy. Darshanam is actually Drushir Prekshane. Darshanam comes from the root Drushir Prekshane, that is to see. Darshanam is a vision of life, or a school of thought. We can say a school of philosophy. This is Patanjali's Yoga Darshana. Is one of the systems of Indian philosophy. It is one of the important systems of the Indian philosophy. So it is also known as Patanjali Yoga Sutram, Patanjali Yoga Darshanam, and also Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And now we are familiar with this word yoga, where in the Bhagavad Gita, every chapter is called a yoga. Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Atma Sanyama Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, etc. All these things are called yoga. What is that yoga, and what is this Patanjali's yoga? So there is a slight difference between these two things. In the Bhagavad Gita, most of us are familiar with the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, every chapter, which is called a yoga, it is actually one step towards the union of Jiva with the ultimate. Jiva means the individual, the union of the individual with the ultimate. Here, yoga is that there in the Gita, the derivation is from one root called yujir. Yujir yoga. The same word yoga is derived from two Sanskrit roots. One is yujir. Yujir yoga. Yoga means to unite. So that is the sense in which we have to take that. So karma yoga is one step. Karma yoga is one means. It is an upaya. It is called upaya or a means to achieve purity of mind and then move towards the supreme. Similarly, dhyana yoga, the meditation, etc., and this physical purification which we are going to see in this physical and mental purification which we are going to see in this yoga, Patanjali's Yogasutras, that is there in what is called dhyana yoga. That is another step towards this union between the jiva and the ultimate. So like that there, every yoga means an upaya, a step towards that union. But here, the root is different. It is called yuj samadhau. Yuj samadhau means, samadhi means concentrating the mind, focusing the mind, deliberating on a particular thing, deliberating, contemplating, analyzing a particular thing. So by this, what is it we are going to do? We will see that there is no union of anything here. In fact, there is a division. In fact, I am just going to tell you shortly how it is going to, it is more a division than union. I'll explain to you shortly. Then, if we just want to have a very, very brief picture of the Indian schools of philosophy, schools of thought, we have categorized them into two types. That is, one is called Astika Darshana, and the other is the Nastika Darshana. In colloquial language, when we say Astika means somebody who believes in God, theist. Nastika is somebody who does not believe, that is atheist. So, but here it is not like that. In the Indian tradition, Astika Darshanas are those which accept the authority of the Vedas. Astika Darshanas. Darshana again is a school of thought. So Astika Darshanas are those, Asti, there is something, that is some supreme reality is Asti. Iti yaha vadati saha Astikaha. Yes, it is there. So Nasti is, there is nothing. There is no basis for this entire universe. So such schools are also there. So what are the Astika Darshanas? We have got 6 Astika Darshanas. One is Nyaya Vaisheshika. I'm just giving a very, very brief picture. Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they are called the logicians. They have they can be called twin philosophies, not exactly twin, something like allied philosophies, allied schools, we can say. And similarly, Sankhya and Yoga are again allied philosophies. And Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa are what is called Vedanta. Purva Mimamsa and Vedanta, they are the allied philosophies. These 6 are the so-called Astika Darshanas, which accept the authority of the Vedas. On the other side, we have got the Nastika Darshanas. That is, those who do not accept the authority of the Vedas. That is, they are something in between. I'll just remove it. Something popping up. Okay. They are the Bauddha Darshana, Jaina Darshana, Charvaka Darshana, the Buddhist philosophy, the Jain philosophy, and also the Charvaka philosophy. So Buddhists, again, they are very great thinkers. They are Buddhists and also Jains. They are very, very great thinkers. They have analyzed the mind as much as deeply as Vedanta and Sankhya and other people have done. And Buddhists, they do not accept the authority of the Vedas. Similarly, Jains also do not accept the authority. And Charvakas, of course, they are Charvaka, total materialists. Buddhists and Jains, the best part of the Buddhism and Jainism is their path of self-purification, Vishuddhi Marga. Suppose we see this Buddhist text called Vishuddhi Marga, the path of purification. It is just totally close to our Vedanta methods of self-purification. But in Charvaka, it is left to the individual because he says there is no basis. Pranam krutva ghritam pibet bhasmi bhutasya dehasya. Okay, you enjoy, have a jivet, sukham jivet. As long as you live, enjoy, have everything. And bhasmi bhutasya dehasya. Once the body is turned into ashes, where is the question of coming again? But then Buddhists and Jains, they also believed in what is called Punarjanma, that is the rebirth. Buddhists and Jains, they believed in rebirth, and that is the reason why they believe in Dharma, that is right conduct. So that their emphasis is on right conduct. So, okay, I have given these, mentioned all these names. After that, what is the focus of all these people? The focus of all these people, or rather the basic human endeavor, if we start like that, what is the basic human endeavor? The basic human endeavor is to have happiness, happiness in life. I want to have so many things. I want to have some gadgets. I want to have all types of maybe the latest electronic gadgets and maybe all types of vehicles and things like that, all comforts in life. That is by means of acquiring some external things. By those external things, I am trying to derive happiness. But the human being is not happy with all these things. In spite of having all these things, the human being is still having his own worries, his own tensions, his own anxieties, his own likes, dislikes, etc. So with all these, he is constantly pestered by all these things. So because of that, he wants some solutions. He wants some answers for his questions. And his basic questions are about, once you have all the things in life and still you don't get happiness, then a man starts thinking, what is the source of happiness? Why? So some people, they are the thinkers. And each school, which I just mentioned, Nyaya Vaisheshika, Sankhya Yoga, Purvamimamsa, Uttarmimamsa, and also the Nastika Darshanas, Buddhism, Jainism, they have all discussed as to what is the ultimate goal of life. And everybody has agreed, the ultimate goal of life is to know what is the meaning of life. Who am I? Who am I? That is the basic thing which we see, that is one peculiar aspect of the Indian philosophy. That is observing the mind, observing who is the knower. I am the person who is knowing the entire external world. And when I am observing, what is my nature and what is my qualification? What is my equipment to observe the external world? The only equipment which we have to observe the external world is, like the Taittiriya Upanishad says, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, that boy goes to his father and he asks his father, oh father, you tell me what is that supreme reality? Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti. And that gentleman says, no, it is not something which can be straight away told, yes, this is Brahma. I can't show it like that. You have to think, you have to examine, you have to analyze and realize. So that is what he says, Tapasa Brahma Vijijnasasva. Know the reality by thinking. Tapas means alochana, tapa alochane. So by thinking, by a process of rational thinking, by a process of examination, analysis, you have to know the truth. So for that he says, okay, what is the equipment you have? Annam, Pranam, Chakshush, Shrotram, Mano, Vachamiti. You have got this Annamaya Kosha, that is the physical body. You have got the energy body. You have got the energy body, means what we call the pranic body. And we have also got the mental body. And with all these things, you are seeing the external world. And you have got three avasthas, three states, that is Jagrat, Sushupti, Swapna and Sushupti. With all these things, you try to know what is the link between you, what is the relationship between you and the external universe, and what can be behind all these things. What is the origin of all these things? You think and try to come to me with your answers. So one by one he realizes, and finally he comes to some understanding about what is that supreme reality. And Vedanta calls it the Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, or supreme or infinitely existing consciousness. That is what Vedanta says. But all other schools, they don't accept. Nyaya Vaisheshika, their idea is different. And Sankhya, the yoga, their idea is different. So, but the focus is, what exactly is this relationship between the body and the universe? And what is this intelligence? We are seeing only two things in the entire universe. That is one which is having intelligence, and the other which is not having intelligence. That is the sentient and the insentient. What is primary? A human being, he considers himself an intelligent being. Is this intelligent a product of the mind, or is it something independent? That is a basic question. So that is where there is a difference of opinion among all these people. Some people say, no, yes, this is something, intelligence is something which is born in the mind and also dies. And some people say, no, intelligence is different and also matter is different. And Vedanta says, no, intelligence alone is manifesting as matter. So that is what he says. I will just keep off my phone, please. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a telephone calls. So the intelligence, which is primary, is intelligence primary or matter primary? So the people who say that matter is primary, they are known as the materialists. From the matter, intelligence is born. And the people who say intelligence is the only thing which is manifest, which is there, and intelligence is not something which is manifesting in, which is originating in the brain, in the mind. Mind itself is what is called insentient, but mind has got a peculiar ability to reflect that consciousness or intelligence. Mind is supposed to be a very fine atyachas taijasa dravyam manaha. That is what Vedanta Paribhasha says. That is very pure, something like a pure crystal-like thing, which is capable of reflecting that consciousness. So consciousness is something which is reflected in the brain. That is what Vedanta says. Sankhya also says that. Yoga also says that. Sankhya and Yoga, they also say that consciousness is something which is reflecting in the brain. And brain is something which is called insentient or inert, what we call Jada. Then what is the difference between Sankhya and Vedanta? Sankhya, I'm just using that word Sankhya for those who are not familiar with these words, they may find it confusing. I will again go slow. So coming back to this Nyaya, Vaisheshika, we will not discuss now. Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they are the logicians. They say that intelligence is something which is produced in the brain. We are not discussing them. We are now talking about Sankhya and Yoga. The Sankhya and Yoga are the allied schools, I said. Sankhya, the name is, of course, I will not go into the derivation. The derivation says, Samyak, say, Atma Tattvani Samyak Kyapyante. There is a big definition for that. That is, Chaturvimshati Tattvani. There are 24 tattvas which are there in the universe. All those things are very well categorized in this particular school of philosophy. So that is why it is called Sankhya. Sankhya means number. Sankhya means that which gives the correct number of the real things which are there in the universe. So anyway, Sankhya is the proponent of the Sankhya philosophy is one sage called Kapila Maharshi. And Kapila is also said to be an avatar of Vishnu. We are familiar with the 10 avatars. We are only familiar with the Dashavataras. But if you see Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the second or third chapter of Bhagavatam, it describes all the 20, there are 21 avatars which are described in that Bhagavatam. Among that, Kapila is an avatar. Kapila is said to be such a great sage that is the impact of Kapila's Sankhya and Vedanta is so much. There is a lot of give and take between Sankhya and Vedanta. So the Sankhya philosophy, it was respected so much that he is regarded as an avatar of Lord Vishnu. And Sankhya is the philosophical school. There is more of metaphysics and analysis and this, that. And yoga is more on the practical side. Sankhya talks about the two entities called the Prakriti, the sentient and the insentient. There are two entities called what is called Chaitanya, consciousness and matter. For consciousness, the term used by Sankhya is Purusha. Please, we have to remember this word Purusha because every time we get it in Patanjali's Yoga Darshana, we get this word Purusha, Purusha, Purusha. Purusha does not mean a man. Purusha does not mean a human being. Purusha means intelligence. Then Prakriti is another thing called, is the word used for matter. Prakriti is the word used for matter. Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha, Prakriti. So the relationship between Prakriti and Purusha, that is what the analysis, the entire analysis of Sankhya is that. And Sankhya, ultimate, what they say is, the seeker or the human being, after all, we are talking about ourselves, our own happiness. The seeker will have that ultimate happiness once he realizes that he is not this body-mind complex. He is not this body-mind complex and he is of the nature of that pure consciousness. So that is what Sankhya says. That is precisely what Vedanta also says. Sankhya says the analysis of that Sankhya has to lead to the Viveka Khyati. Viveka Khyati means the knowledge of this differentiation. Viveka means differentiating, analyze and differentiate. Viveka Chodamani we have seen, Vichir Prathak Bhave, that is to analyze, to separate and examine. So Viveka Khyati, Khyati means knowledge. The knowledge of this difference between this Purusha and Prakriti, and that will lead him to happiness, because he realizes all these states of mind, whatever I call happiness, what I call misery, what I call love, hate, likes, dislikes, raga, dvesha, so many things, all these things, they are uh, they belong to the body mind complex. They don't belong to me. My essential nature is totally different. And once he is stationed in that particular frame of mind, uh, then he gets rid of all these worries and anxieties and all these things. That is, the Sankhya tells in a what can we say, sort of intellectual arguments and polemics and all these manners. Whereas yoga tells the way in which you have to practice. Sankhya does not tell the way, but whereas yoga tells the way how to practice it. That is, okay, first of all, if you go to the Sadhana Pada, there is one chapter in the Sadhana Pada. Of course, I will also give a brief summary of this Yoga Sutra. I will just say that yoga tells the way. That is the manner in which you can go about, how you have to examine yourself, and then how you have to realize that you are different from that, this body-mind complex. So that is what yoga says. And now if you come to the text, or before that, why has yoga become so popular? If you see that also, the very fact that it is not so intellectually loaded. If you go to Sankhya philosophy, it is so intellectually loaded, whereas yoga is not so intellectually loaded. And we know that we are aware of other schools like Vedanta and all that. If you go to some Shastra Sabha, we have got this tradition of Shastra Sabha. In these Shastra Sabhas, there are mighty debates about various aspects of Shastra, whether it is Vyakarana, whether it is Nyaya, whether it is something Vedanta, etc. Whereas here in this yoga, it is more of practice, it is more of observing the body, it is more of observing the mind. So this is how it is. And and also one more attraction of this yoga for a modern man is that neither Sankhya nor yoga tell about any particular God. Even Vedanta does not tell about any particular God. Vedanta does not, it only says that supreme reality is of the nature of pure consciousness, which is appearing as the entire universe, which is a phenomenon. Whereas Sankhya also says that there is a difference between what is called consciousness and matter, and these two independently exist. So that is a philosophy. They two independently exist. So here, the attraction of yoga is that yoga is not proposing any God. So it is a sort of a modern man seeks what is called a godless spirituality. So that type of godless spirituality you find in the Yoga Sutra. So that is the reason why it has been a common man's tradition. Many people, if you have seen villages, or even about 50, 60 years ago, we used to find so many people who are practicing yogis. They are all common people. The common people in villages. In my own village, I used to see people practicing yoga. And in fact, you remember that small book which I dedicated to my grandfather. That is Sandhya Vandanam. I dedicated to my grandfather, who was a yogi. He is a villager, basically a villager. And then he was practicing yogi, Patanjali yoga. Every day he used to lock himself up in a room and then he used to practice yoga. So that is how the yoga was a sort of common man's tradition till recently. Of course, now recently means till about 50, 60 years ago. And of course, we have forgotten now. We have forgotten everything else. Like we have forgotten Sanskrit, we have forgotten Gita, we have also forgotten almost yoga. And luckily, because of the interest taken by the Western people, we are again getting inducted into this. We are again trying to revive our, we are trying to revisit our traditions and then trying to understand. So anyway, that is how it is. Now, if you just come to the text, this text has got 4 chapters. This Patanjali Yoga Sutra. The meaning of sutra also I have to tell. Sutra means a very, very crisp, aphoristic statement is called a sutra. There is also a definition for that sutra. Alpaksharam, asandigdham, saravad, vishwatomukam, etc., etc. There is a definition for that. I think I told you in our Vedanta class. So that is alpa. It has to consist of very few words. That brevity has to be there, and then it has to cover the entire meaning. What all meaning you want to convey, it has to convey. And again, it should be something which cannot be disputed, something which cannot be disproved, disputed, or blamed. Anavadyam, atshobhyam, anavadyancha. So all that thing, it has to be very, very, it should be pregnant with meaning. So that is what is the definition of a sutra, a very aphoristic, crisp, aphoristic statement. And Patanjali has given, in total, 195 sutras. There may be some calculation, one or two, some book may, some text, some version or some edition may be giving 195, 96, 97, etc. But usually it is 195 sutras. And these 195 sutras are divided into 4 chapters. The first chapter is what is called the Samadhi Pada. I am just giving a brief picture of the text. The first chapter is called what is called the Samadhi Pada. Samadhi is focusing the mind. Samyak adhiyate manah asmin niti samadhihi. You are focusing your mind on a particular thing. And what is the intention of focusing? The intention of focusing is to analyze. You are scrutinizing, like you are seeing a thing in a microscope and examining it. You are focusing your mind and trying to examine it. You are just concentrating in order to examine a particular thing. That is yoga. So what are the types of samadhis? So here in this first chapter, he tells about what exactly is a samadhi. Samadhi actually means chitta vritti nirodha, he says. Yoga, the word yoga, the same as samadhi. Yuju samadhav, the meaning is same. Yuju samadhav, yoga means samadhi, that is focusing the mind. And here he says chitta vritti nirodha, all types of wandering thought frames, all the wandering thoughts have to be removed and you have to focus your mind on a particular thing. So there are he describes 2 types of samadhis. That is one in which you are focusing your mind on a particular object. And whatever thing you are examining, suppose you are concentrating on, you are thinking about what is called Panchabhuta Viveka. So my body is a product of the 5 elements, that is Prithvi, Apu, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha. That is a sort of guided meditation. So you are doing that meditation. You are focusing your mind and the entire mind is on that. Or you are focusing your mind on Sukshma Sharira. Suppose you do that. When you are doing that, then your mind is focused on that. So like that, the object of focus may be different, but focus is there. So that particular type of samadhi in which the object of contemplation is very clearly illumined, that particular state, that particular samadhi, he gives a name for that. He calls it Samprajñata Samadhi. Unfortunately, in the first few sutras, there is so much of terminology. So you should not be browbeaten by the language of the Yogasutras, because Yogasutras, he uses so many words, technical words straight away. Particularly this commentary, when you come to commentary, that commentator, not Sage Vyasa, it must be some other Vyasa. So that gentleman, he uses more technical words. So there are so many words and we should not be intimidated by the terminology. So the Samprajñata Samadhi, that is where the object of focus or object of concentration is very clearly illustrated or illumined. We have got another type of Samadhi where absolutely all thoughts are removed. Everything, all these, suppose you are thinking about what is called supreme reality, the Purusha Prakriti, that is the differentiation between the sentient and insentient, consciousness and matter. And you are focusing on that. So all those thought frames are also removed and you remain as some sort of objectless consciousness. So that is what they say, objectless. Usually whenever we say consciousness or intelligence, we are associated with knowing something. When I say I am intelligent or I know there is knowledge, suppose I am seeing this. So this is the content of my knowledge. Whereas in that final stage where even that object is not there, it is objectless consciousness, it is pure consciousness, contentless consciousness. So that whatever you may like to say. So that is the second stage, that is the highest stage. So he remains as in that particular stage. So he describes all that. Now when you see the second chapter, it is called the sadhana. Sadhana is, in Vedanta also we use the word sadhana. Sadhana is a very conscious attempt to achieve something. Sadhana. Sadhana is anything. You make a conscious effort to know something, to learn a skill. So that is what is sadhana. So here, what is it? So here there is a conscious effort to analyze the mind. There is a conscious effort to know what are the impurities of the mind and how to get rid of the impurities of the mind. So that is what is called, the second chapter deals with that. In fact, the second chapter, had it been told first, it could have been simpler, because the second chapter is much simpler. Whereas the first chapter is telling about what exactly is samadhi. And the second chapter, he is telling about how to achieve that samadhi, how to attain that purity of mind, because this attaining purity of mind is most important. Without that purity of mind, if a person's mind is cluttered with so many ideas, cluttered with a lot many likes, dislikes, and all these things, he doesn't have that focus. So one has to have that focus of mind. So for that, you have to keep away a lot many things. So that is what we see in this second chapter, sadhana, pada. It is called sadhana pada. Pada means 1/4. Padam in Sanskrit, pada in ordinary language, it means a foot. Pada, first part is called samadhi pada, and the second part is called sadhana pada. In the second portion, he talks about what is called kriya yoga. And this kriya yoga, we will see that it is not much different from karma yoga. We have seen about karma yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. What he tells here about in kriya yoga of sadhana pada, he is almost similar to that. Not much difference. Tapaswadhyayeshvara pranidhanani kriya yoga. There is a sutra for that. What are the ingredients of that kriya yoga and how to achieve all those things? If you see, that is almost clear, very close to this what is called karma yoga. And there also he talks about yama niyama. There is what is called Ashtanga yoga. He introduces the term called Ashtanga yoga in the second chapter. Ashtanga, Ashta is 8. Anga means limbs. Yoga, 8-limbed yoga. And in fact, 8 limbs are not totally independent. 8 limbs are actually, they can be simultaneous steps. They need not be one after the other. They can even be simultaneous. They can be simultaneously practiced. Yama is something controlling my external behavior. That is what Vedanta calls Dhamma. Bhakhyendriya nigraha dhamma. That is controlling my external activity consciously. Vedanta, in yoga, there is a wonderful discovery, that is, conscious practices influence the unconscious mind, influence the samskaras. Consciously we practice something, that influences the samskaras, that changes a man's personality. So that is one very important factor in this Yoga Sutra, in this Yoga Shastra. So this Yama is controlling this external activity, and Niyama is actually controlling the mind. Mind is able to control the Indriyas, because mind is aware of the dangers. Suppose I pursue something which I am not supposed to pursue. The mind is aware of the danger. No, you should not do that. You may get beaten or something like that. Whereas, how to educate the mind? Mind can only be changed only by proper education. Mind can only be changed only by proper study of scriptures. So that is where that my education of mind comes in. Niyama, that is Shaucha, Santosha, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana, he says, that is, you have to keep the mind pure and you have to be contented. Contentment has to be practiced. And then Swadhyaya is the most important ingredient there. Swadhyaya is study of the scriptures. Because the study of scriptures, it tells us what is real and what is right and what is wrong, what is real and what is unreal. Not only from a moral or ethical point of view, but from a metaphysical point of view, from an epistemological point of view. It tells what is reality, what is unreal, what is real and what is unreal. So that is analysis. So when all that analysis goes on, then gradually certain points sink into our mind. And gradually there is a sort of inner change or inner transformation or inner growth, as we may say. So that is what is the point in Niyama. Then Asana. Asana, we know that whenever you talk about yoga, the very first thing your mind gets is some picture. Asana is somebody in a posture. But out of the 195 sutras, Patanjali has devoted only one sutra for asanas, and that too a three words, that is sthira sukham asanam, he says, sthira sukham asanam. So a person's posture should not disturb him too much. Suppose I am sitting in a very, very awkward position, so that my position is actually disturbing me. So my position should be in such a way that it has to be conducive for my thinking. It should not disturb my thinking. It should not disturb my, say, whatever is a neurological activity. So that should be this sthira sukham. It should it should be a pleasant thing for me. So, but this asana has become very, very important, very, very important. And Patanjali's time, there were not so many asanas. In Patanjali's Yoga and also in the Bhashya also, Vyasa Bhashya also, hardly about 15 postures are described. But later texts like Hatha Yoga Pradipika, so that gives about 100 odd, around 100 postures. So all those things, it is a later development. So anyway, sadhana, this asana is also a very important thing. Asanas include also the mudras. Mudra, all these finger movements and all that. And these mudras, again, they are very, very important for toning up the nervous system. Toning up the nervous system also is very, very important. So in fact, probably these mudras were practiced because in olden days, there was no printing. The books had to be written on palm leaves or some other, some bhurja patra. That bhurja patra, in English, I don't know what is that leaf. It is a bark of a tree. Here, of course, it is palm leaf. In South India, we have got palm leaves. In North India, we have got the bhurja patra, that is bark of a tree. So there, one had to write with what is called a ghantam. And that ghantam, and then one has to put some holes, and then we have to write. So that involves a lot of trouble to the fingers and hands. So for some sort of relief, probably that is also helping. That helps anybody who has some problem with the nervous system. If you practice mudras, the nervous system will be toned up. That, of course, I can tell from experience in a very authoritative manner. So anyway, in fact, recently, I told my barber also. My barber, every time he has to do that. So constantly doing that practice, their fingers, they get rather stuck, something like frozen. So I told him, I showed him all the mudras. So the man practiced those mudras every day, at least 2 to 3 times, I told him. So he came back and said, no, sir, now I am perfect. I am now okay. All that pain is gone, that stiffness has gone, he says. So like that, these asanas and mudras, etc., they do help us. It is immediate phalam or immediate result is seen from these things. So after this asana, the next thing is pranayama. Pranayama we have been seeing in this global yoga festival. We have been seeing the various types of pranayama and all that. I will not go into that. So that pranayama is the next thing. Then comes the internal aspects. That is pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Pratyahara is withdrawing from external objects, gradually educating the mind. After you educate your mind, it says, okay, now enough is enough. This is okay for me. I am very contented. So you withdraw gradually. Then dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Dharana is focusing, concentration. Dhyana is meditating. There is a slight difference between dharana and is in the state of mind, that final state where a person has attained that particular focus of mind. He is in that first level of samadhi, where that object of meditation is clearly focused or illumined, or he is in the second level of samadhi, where he has attained a total chitta vritti nirodha, that is complete cessation of all the mental activities. So that is the highest level. So this is how this sadhana is mentioned. When you come to the third pada, I think I can speak for 5 more minutes. Okay. I'll very quickly conclude. So the third pada is called the Vibhuti pada. Vibhuti means various types of supernatural powers which a yogi is said to acquire. Of course, I have not seen anybody who has such powers. In fact, he tells about so many powers like knowing the past and future, and also knowing the language of animals, and the knowledge of past lives, and knowing the mind of others, etc., and influencing the others psychologically. So these are certain, many more things are told there. So these are the supernatural powers which a person is said to acquire in the process of acquiring that samadhi, in the process of that samprajnata samadhi. He is getting all these things. But then Patanjali also cautions that a person should not get stuck to these things. If you get stuck to these things and if you are attracted by these things, you will miss the main thing. Suppose I am happy with my power to dominate others. So I am stuck here only. I am more, all my raga, dvesha are further aggrandized, further strengthened. So I should not get stuck to all these things. I should go beyond that. Anyway, but even these supernatural powers, we have to see. We do not know. The sages might be having. Even now, people might be having. We do not know. Then the last chapter is talking about what is called Kaivalyam. Kaivalyam is oneness, kevalasya bhava. Kevalam is alone. Kevala. Kevala is one. Kevala, one and nothing else. Kevalasya bhava, kaivalyam. That is the notion of oneness. So that I am separate. I am actually not this body-mind complex. I am that intelligence. I am of the nature of pure consciousness. So that is that kevalasya bhava. And here again, there is some little bit of metaphysics, and there is a discussion about the Buddhist view, and here the Buddhist view also is negated in some sutras, that is refutation. And again, how this subtle body also dissolves. Subtle body is what we call this prana sharira, that sukshma sharira. How that subtle body also dissolves, and also even the impressions which are there, in the mind, all those things which are eliminated. So, and how one attains that pure state of mind. So that is what is that Kaivalya. So this is what is the overall structure of this Patanjali's text. And we will now, if you have time, I will continue. Otherwise, we'll close it and we can take questions if we have questions. Because the introduction, something more is there.
We have only one question, sir. We can take it later, but you can continue. We have another 10 minutes time.
Oh, then I will complete the introduction. I'll complete the introduction then. Okay. Then now we come to the yoga text. When we come to the yoga text, we will be reading the text along with what is called the Vyasa Bhashyam. Bhashyam means a commentary. Vyasa is the name of a person. And this Vyasa definitely is not sage Vyasa, who is the man who divided the Vedas. Vyasa, sage Vyasa, is the man. The Vedas were in like a huge mass of mantras, etc. So he is the man who categorized all the Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, etc., etc. And again, he is the man who wrote this Mahabharata, which is known as the Panchama Veda. Mahabharata is very famous as the fifth Veda. And he is also said to have written some Puranas and also Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Vyasa, who has written the commentary on this Patanjali's Yogasutra, most people say, when we read, we will also feel that he is not the same Vyasa, because that language is totally different, his approach is totally different, and there is no need for that sage Vyasa to write a commentary on this text. And this Patanjali, moreover, Vyasa's time is much, much different. Vyasa, we see Vyasa's time is Mahabharata time. Mahabharata time is more than 5,000 years ago. But Patanjali's time is different. Patanjali is only 200 years old. 200 years prior to around 200 BCE, before the Common Era. He existed around that time. So this is Patanjali. So naturally, Bhashyam, the commentator, is somebody who has come sometime after the Common Era only. So, and of course, I have not gone into much details about what is the time of Vyasa, etc. So now we will see that, this age of the text, I told you the age of the text, and the book which I am following, by and large, I am following this book called Patanjala Yoga Darshanam. Patanjala Yoga Darshanam. It is actually in Hindi. This is by Suresh Chandra Srivastava. I am following this text because I did not see any text in English which is giving so many details. It is giving, for example, the sutra. It is giving the sutra. It is giving the bhashyam, and it is also giving the sub-commentaries on this Vyasa Bhashya. There are sub-commentaries called, for example, there are three sub-commentaries. One is Tattvavidananda by what is that man? Yeah, that Mishra. Okay, Vachaspati Mishra. Not yeah, I'll check up. Then again, the other book called Yoga Vartikam by one gentleman called Vijnana Bhikshu. Vijnana Bhikshu, Yoga Vartika, mostly quotes from Vijnana Bhikshu's Yoga Vartikam and sometimes from this Tattva Vaisharadi also. So he has given, for example, Samadhi. What is the meaning of Samadhi? What is the derivation of Samadhi? Or suppose I say a word called Vritti. Vartate anaya iti Vrittihi. Samyak adhiyate manaha yasmin iti Samadhihi. So he gives the definition, he gives the etymological meaning of each and every word. So that is the reason why I am following this book, because it gives a clear understanding of the text. I did not see such a text in English. Maybe it may be there. So I am following this text. And for those who want to follow English text, there is one book by one professor, one Rutgers University professor named Edwin Bryant. Edwin, B-R-Y-A-N-T, Edwin Bryant, Yogasutras of Patanjali. I found that book to be a really wonderful book, because he is one gentleman who studied with the traditional teachers here. He studied Sanskrit and also studied the Yoga Bhashya, Vyasa Bhashyam, and also he got acquainted with other Bhashyams, other commentaries, and he has written a very voluminous book. And that book also, it is available on you can get through Amazon also. It is called Yogasutras of Patanjali, Edwin Bryant. I see that book also. And after that, you have the entire text on the net. That is another wonderful work done by some Krishnamacharya Institute. Krishnamacharya, KYM.Yogavaisharadi.org. It is, you can find it on, you can Google it and get it. KYM Yoga Vaisharadi, Yoga Vaisharadi, Yogavaisharadi.org. So these three, and this KYM Yoga Vaisharadi is giving all the all the commentaries, all commentaries on Yoga Sutra. It is giving that is a sort of an encyclopedia on the yoga literature. So that is how, yeah, Yoga KYM Yoga Vaisharadi.org. So that is giving. In fact, I am actually taking the from tomorrow. I'll show the text also, because if you are seeing the text and if you are reading, then you will understand it. As I said, the language is slightly different from the language we find in the yoga, in Vedanta, etc. Slightly different terminology. So I will also give the text. And that Yoga Vaisharadi is giving all the commentaries. And for somebody who knows Sanskrit, it will be a wonderful resource. So that is what we see here, you see. Then, so this is what is about, this is what is about the introduction to Yoga Sutra. And in fact, an ideal way of reading Yoga Sutra is to also know some of the terminology in advance. But anyway, I will not go into that. I will straight away take the text tomorrow. And as and when a new word comes, then I will start explaining. Instead of giving the glossary first, I will start with the text. And then slowly and slowly, I will give the, I will also gloss the particular terms. So that is how we will go ahead. Now, I'll take the questions.
Thank you very much, sir, for the introduction. The first question, I believe you have already answered, but still I'll read it for you. Can you recommend some books which gives an idea about Yoga Sutras for beginners? Maybe who is not familiar with Sanskrit, you can advise.
Yoga Sutras are for beginners. There may be many texts. For example, Ramakrishna Mission, Chinmaya Mission, if you see, Yoga for beginners, there are many texts. But then they don't have the text. They may have the text, but they may not be having the commentaries. They may not have Vyasa Bhashya. They will not have this Vachaspati Mishra's Tattva Vaisharadi, Vijnana Bhikshu's commentary, Yoga Vartika, etc. You may not have. But then they give a preliminary idea. They give a good idea. But this in English, this Edwin Bryant's book is not a primary thing. It is actually, it is also useful for a researcher. Also, it will be useful because it gives almost a summary of all the commentaries. So he has done a lot of research. Yes,
The
please.
second question is your comments on Samadhi, Veda Bharati, and Hariharananda Aranya books.
Yeah, they are also there. I have not read those commentaries. That Hariharananda commentary I have not read. Even that is available in that, what is that, KYM Yoga Vaisharati, it is there. In fact, I will be usually dwelling on Yoga Sutra, of course, it is there, Vyasa Bhashyam, and two sub-commentaries, that is Tattvavidananda and also that Vartikam, those two. And maybe that Krishnamacharya's commentary also, it is available in that same website. I will see that commentary also because that is one of the latest commentaries. So that also I will see. Yes, please.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.